Good morning. I've got a few things to read. We'll see what happens. Heed these words. This is a different stream of wisdom, but it's relevant wisdom nonetheless here in this engaged Buddhist group where there are many American beings. Many of us don't know the indigenous people here well enough. We haven't listened. We don't know the basic story that is our history. We don't know the long genocide. This is problematic. We have not heeded these words as a people. So engaged Buddhists today will heed these words. Continue to contaminate your own bed, and you will one night suffocate in your own waste. In other words, keep shitting in your own bed, and one day you'll choke on it. This is Buddhism too. This is karma and results. Strangely enough, these Native Americans often hit on the points the Buddha so clearly elucidated. Now, this is a wonderful teaching, this next one, from Chief Luther Standing Bear of the Oglala Sioux. The white man does not understand America. He is too far removed from its formative processes. The roots of the tree of his life have not yet grasped the rock and the soil. This is a beautiful point. Vine Deloria Jr. goes into more detail here in his book, God is Red. It's a wonderful book. I encourage all engaged Buddhists, especially in the USA, to read and to learn about our ugly history. Not because of hate, but because of love. We have to talk about suffering and its causes. The white man is still troubled by his primitive fears. He still has in his consciousness the perils of this frontier continent, some of it not yet having yielded to his questing footsteps and inquiring eyes. This is stuff I share about frequently, and I encourage you to read yourself. But I'm also here to share what I've learned, like this. The white man shudders still with the memory of the loss of his forefathers upon its scorching deserts and forbidding mountaintops. The man from Europe is still a foreigner and an alien, and he still hates the man who questioned his path across this continent. I couldn't agree more with Chief Luther Standing Bear, and how I understand what he is saying is grounded in Buddhist teaching. But I totally hear what he's saying because I also know enough of the knowable history. So don't ignore history. The present moment doesn't. The present moment is history and future. That's what emptiness means. We don't use the present moment as a tool for spiritual bypassing. Just saying, oh, the past doesn't exist. Let's not talk about the genocide our ancestors committed and that we continue. No, that's bad karma. Let's talk about all this bad karma and all these ugly results manifesting in this present moment. That's the way forward. No more spiritual bypassing, pretending there is good vibes only. That doesn't actually help create more good vibes. Back to Chief Luther Standing Bear. But in the Indian, the spirit of the land is still vested. It will be a long time until other men are able to divine and meet its rhythm. Men must be born and reborn to belong here. Their bodies must be formed of the dust of their forefathers' bones. Such a beautiful statement, something Thich Nhat Hanh would definitely understand. Interbeing. Ecological awareness matters as well. And that doesn't just happen all of a sudden. You have to actually live there to belong and understand there. Most of us white people on this continent and the others that we colonized still are not close to knowing the spirits of the land. If we lived more mindfully, with more compassion, we could do it. We're not inherently evil, but we have made many mistakes. That's bad karma with ugly results. Look at the present moment. All this Jesus and John Wayne stuff taking over our government, destroying our democracy. What we have been doing to others, we are now seeing done to ourselves, by ourselves. This is the flow of karma and results. This is the law of karma. Buddhism is ethics. It's a kind of ethics that doesn't rely on blind belief or in the idea that some creator God has a list of good and bad karma that we need to follow. No, the Buddha taught us how to know for ourselves good and bad. Reviewing American history, Anyone can look and see, oh, that's bad. This is bad results, and these are connected. This is Buddhism. It involves a historical awareness and a desire to change the minds of masses. If the masses are continually doing genocide with huge greed, somebody needs to do something, and that will be the bodhisattva. She will stand up and say, hey, this sucks. Stop doing bad karma. Do good karma. Now, Chief Seattle, a hero from the region of this land where I live. He says, a few more hours, a few more winters, and none of the children of the great tribes that once lived on this earth, or that roamed in small bands in the woods, will be left to mourn the graves of a people once as powerful and hopeful as yours. So he's highlighting impermanence, Chief Seattle, or Selt. Now, he says, the whites, too, shall pass. Our day will come, too, perhaps sooner than we thought. Perhaps sooner than other tribes, says Chief Seattle. Continue to contaminate your own bed, and you will one night suffocate in your own waste. Now look around at the present moment. See the current state of things. Connect the dots across the past to understand this present moment reality. That's what the Buddha taught. Basic determinism. It's already built into our modern worldview, but he took it further. So let's study and practice and share to help others understand and implement the teaching, which is not always easy to understand and implement. But Chief Seattle knew impermanence too. He says, the whites too shall pass, perhaps sooner than other tribes. Continue to shit in your own bed, and you will one night just choke on it. When the buffalo are all slaughtered, the wild horses all tamed, the secret corners of the forest heavy with the scent of many men, and the view of the ripe hills blotted by talking wires, where is the thicket? Gone. Where is the eagle? Gone. And what is to say farewell to the swift and the hunt, to the end of living and the beginning of survival? We might understand if we knew what it was that the white man dreams, what he describes to his children on those long winter nights, what visions he burns into their minds, so they will wish for tomorrow. But we are savages. The white man's dreams are hidden from us. So he's talking about how knowing volitional formations, habit energies, characteristics of groups is useful, just like a bodhisattva. You can check out the Avatamsaka Sutra for more details here, but we practice right mindfulness, paying attention to beings. Therefore, we come to understand the characteristics of beings and their groups. This is what Chief Seattle is talking about here. White people, the people invading his land. That's a group of beings. No, that group does not have Atman. But yes, that group of beings does exist. It does deserve attention, analysis, and teaching to clarify what's good and bad about it. Here he wishes he knew the dreams that we white people pass along to our children, because it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense. Our worldview, our value systems are broken, and they've been broken for a long time. But we've been able to pretend it wasn't broken because there was a frontier. We could always go steal more, exploit more people, until recently. Now here we are, turning against each other. We may not survive as long as other tribes. This is basic Buddhism. This is also something that Jesus taught in the Gospel of Thomas. He said, this heaven and the one above it will pass away. This is impermanence. Now this is Sitting Bull. He's awesome. If the Great Spirit had desired me to be a white man, he would have made me so in the first place. He put in your heart certain wishes and plans. In my heart, he put other and different desires. Again, he's talking about volitional formations. Sanskaras, one of the aggregates the Buddha described. Habits and characteristics, personality. We white people have these other characteristics, these other desires, like Chief Seattle said. They're not healthy. It's greed, it's hatred, it's delusion in loops. Generation after generation, it gets worse. Sitting Bull says, each man is good in the sight of the Great Spirit. It is not necessary for eagles to be crows. Now we are poor, but we are free. No white man controls our footsteps. If we must die, we die defending our rights. And good news, Leonard Peltier is free. After a long time, 30 years or something in prison, now he's free. And he gave a beautiful statement. I think I'll share that in a while. Now a Delaware chief, Shingiz. The white people think we have no brains in our heads. They are great and powerful, and that makes them make war with us. We are but a little handful to what you are. But remember, when you hunt for a rattlesnake, you usually cannot find it. And perhaps it will bite you before you see it. The red man, this is Chief Seattle again. The red man has ever fled the approach of the white man, as the morning mist flees before the morning sun. It matters little where we pass the remnants of our days. They will not be many. You can tell from his speeches, there was great sorrow. This was karma, bad karma, from my people. Do I hate white people? No. But do I see that we've done lots of bad karma with great pride? Yes, of course, it's so clear to anyone who looks at even the beginning of our history. This is not great, and this ugly history is totally connected to the ugly events of the present moment. Therefore, knowing something about this history will help you navigate the ugly parts of this present moment. And this navigation, if it's the bodhisattva path, will be beneficial to all beings. But then Chief Seattle turns it around and again brings up impermanence. But why should I mourn the untimely fate of my people? Your time of decay may be distant, but it will surely come. For even the white man, whose God walked and talked with him as a friend with friend, cannot be exempt from the common destiny. We may be brothers after all. We will see. You see how beautiful that is? He is talking about this common destiny, the universality of impermanence. This is a central Buddhist teaching. I often see these stories about my ancestors' errors and reflect on how great it would have been if they knew something about Buddhism back then. But they didn't. And they often held the opposite view, and their value system was often totally opposite to Buddhist ethics. Lots of greed and hatred because of the delusion of self. Today we call it American individualism, like it's some cute thing we developed, when it's just another ugly samsara error, totally nourished by what they call the Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. All these things are totally relevant to engaged Buddhist practice today, here, now. Chief Seattle knew it. This time would come. We would turn against each other and it would fall apart. The Buddha knew it. He spoke of similar cycles. Now, Chief Dan George, he's awesome too. Can we talk of integration until there is integration of hearts and minds? Unless you have this, you have only a physical presence, and the walls between us are as high as the mountain range. This is a point Thich Nhat Hanh often made. We have this deeper work to do. We don't just force Native Americans into white people errors. We do, that's what has happened, but that's not good, that's wrong. Can we even talk of integration, though, as long as white people go on so emotionally retarded and confused about basic reality? No. Until we have that, we have only this weird materialism, this annihilationism that harms self and others. Now another chief, Arikara chief, White Shield. The color of the skin makes no real difference. What is good and just for one is ultimately good and just for the other, and the Great Spirit made all men brothers. I have red skin, but my grandfather was a white man. What does it matter? It is not the color of the skin that makes me good or bad. So, this is evidence our racism is not new, and that should be obvious to anyone who looks at the American story. It's been non-stop racism. Obviously, this man, White Shield, is responding to it. He's like, hey, your ideas about my inferiority because of the color of my skin are just nonsense. And that's still true. But unfortunately, many Americans today are trying to be proud of these old, ugly, bad habits around race. Not acceptable. Remain intolerant of such intolerance. And you can go read about this paradox of tolerance from Karl Popper. Now one more. Black Hawk from the Sauk tribe. The path to glory is rough, and many gloomy hours obscure it. May the Great Spirit shed light on your path, so that you may never experience the humility that the power of the American government has reduced me to. This is the wish of a man who, in his native forests, was once as proud and as bold as yourself. Black Hawk. Infinite blessings, all the love.